Topic: Sources of information. Gathering and surveillance sources of information. In gathering information for intelligence purpose, the aim is to be in possession of as much information as possible about the object of investigation, either business or person. The objective, therefore, is to gather all available information possible about the object. There are various methods of doing this. They include motorized surveillance, electronic surveillance, and routine or existing information on the object. Motorized surveillance. Motorized surveillance is a specialist field that employs human and vehicular resources to obtain information by committing the resources after a known object that is under investigation, using previous information acquired about the target. It is essentially an undercover means used for obtaining information. The amount of information that may be obtained through this means will depend on the amount of resources committed. This makes it one of the most expensive methods of intelligence information gathering. As many as 3 different vehicles of 3 crew each, with another personnel on a fast-moving motorcycle, usually constitutes a surveillance team deployed after a criminal under investigation. The surveillance agents in the team communicate with themselves with the aid of radio communication and use coded esoteric language which is only understood by members of the team. The surveillance usually covers the target's movement to his or her associates who he or she visits, and so on. This is called motorized surveillance. Foot surveillance. Foot surveillance can also be conducted when necessary, depending on the target's movement. In practical terms, it is effective and useful in big and sensitive fraud cases. Electronic surveillance. Another specialist field of intelligence information gathering is electronic surveillance. It involves the use of electronic devices. The type of devices employed in a particular case depends on the nature of the case and the character or characters of the persons involved. Commonly used devices are hidden video and audio cameras, improvised and adapted to suit the physical environments of the targeted individuals. The devices could be mounted on stationary vehicles, inside departments, shops, offices, and carefully implanted to avoid detection, but effective enough to gather desired information. Field interviews or searches are also very veritable sources of useful information for intelligence purposes. When an investigator is investigating a fraud case, information about people, events, phone numbers, and facsimile numbers can be gathered by interviewing people suspected to be knowledgeable about them. It should be noted that no matter how irrelevant information collected as a result of field interviews may be, it is good practice to collate such information for future intelligence purposes. It is a legal and common practice during investigation to conduct searches on persons and businesses connected with a fraud. During this exercise, investigators are most likely to stumble on useful information that are not only connected with the matter under investigation, but which may be useful in building up intelligence information for the organization. It is therefore considered important that information, such as documents, addresses, phone or fax numbers, telex numbers, and so on, found during searches be carefully examined for leads or hints. Routine or existing information. Additional information from existing routine records is one of the best and most reliable sources of information for intelligence officers or fraud investigators. By collating and storing details of persons and businesses that feature during fraud investigations, a large useful amount of intelligence can be made available for its users. To build such a repository of information, intelligence officers or investigators should maintain accurate records of persons and businesses that they come across in their daily routine activities. Other basic sources of information include who is who, official records, immigration, telephone directory, CID, newspapers, radio and television, registry, case officer, open sources, meetings and conversations, agents, posts and telephone control, bugging, internet, and others. Surveillance. Definition of surveillance. Surveillance is defined as a close watch kept on someone who is believed or suspected to have criminal intention, or a watch kept in a place or an area where crime is believed to have been or about to be committed. In determining whether a crime is or about to be committed, sometimes close observation needs to be carried out on certain suspected persons or places. This enables an intelligence officer, detective, or investigating officer to watch closely the behavior of specific persons relating to an environment which is prone to certain crimes. Surveillance is normally kept on crime-prone areas and on habitual criminals. It is an aspect of criminal investigation. Emphatically, it has to do with crime detection and intelligence. Difference between surveillance and security watch. Surveillance is different from security watch, which entirely involves visible security operatives who are conspicuously seen on guard at the place being watched. In the case of surveillance, no identified security personnel or operatives are seen in the area. Rather, intelligence officers, detectives, or investigators parade the area in different covers. Besides sending an intelligence officer, a detective can survey an area directly without sending any person. In that case, he will do so under a different cover or guise. For instance, narcotics such as Indian hemp and cocaine were seen sold by certain persons at a place in Azikiwe Street, Abuja. No person's name was given, nor a particular address. This is a situation where surveillance is very necessary. The duty of the intelligence officer, detective, or investigator is first to survey the area to ascertain if narcotic substances are being distributed. Through the survey, he will identify the specific address, the actual persons involved, their method of operation, and the time when people gather to consume the drug. This may be done by sending agents known as informants or by going to the area himself and pretending to be a consumer. The aim is not to make arrest immediately. Rather, it is to know persons and places. Care should be taken to avoid giving away one's identity and intention. Surveillance involves active mental notes of persons, places, objects, and events. After confirmation of the truth of the information received, full investigation activities can then be undertaken. Here, arrest can be made and exhibits seized. The reasons for avoiding arrest during surveillance include avoiding disclosure of identity, gathering more facts, and preventing destruction of exhibits and evidence. A surveillance team may witness a crime from beginning to end and later arrest the perpetrators. This helps to obtain concrete evidence for easy prosecution. Closed-circuit television, CCTV. The television camera and receiver is another aspect of scientific crime detection. Through CCTV, activities of a subject can be observed from a distance. CCTV is used for surveillance in homes, banks, supermarkets, airports, military and paramilitary installations, government houses, and legislative buildings. Many private companies install CCTV to monitor employee activities. CCTV also helps resolve criminal cases where no physical evidence is found. Surveillance cameras are increasingly used in Nigeria, while they are common in developed countries. In the United Kingdom, surveillance using CCTV is widespread, with millions of cameras installed. However, criminals may also misuse CCTV, such as using hidden cameras at automated teller machines to steal personal identification numbers. Rules governing surveillance. Intelligence officers or detectives should take mental notes and avoid immediate arrest. They must think and act fast. They must avoid revealing their identity. They must avoid creating suspicion and should blend with the environment. Their stay should be brief and unnecessary discussion avoided, depending on the nature of the surveillance.